Let's be honest. Love today feels harder than ever. You give your all, you show up, you try to communicate, and still, somehow, it feels like you're the only one fighting for connection. If you've ever wondered why men pull away, why you keep attracting the same kind of heartbreak, or how to make him miss you without losing yourself in the process, this is for you. This is real relationship advice for women. Not the fluffy kind, but the truth that shakes you awake. Today, we're diving into dating tips for women who are tired of games, ready to stop chasing men, and determined to build something real. This is about female empowerment in relationships, self-love and confidence, understanding men, toxic relationship recovery, and stepping into your high-value woman mindset. Because real love starts with you. You know what most women get wrong about love? We confuse effort with worth. We think that if we just love harder, give more, prove ourselves a little better, he'll finally stay. We tell ourselves, maybe if I'm more patient, more understanding, more forgiving, he'll see my value. But that belief is what keeps you stuck, because love isn't something you earn through exhaustion. You can't force someone to love you right by overperforming in a relationship that only takes. That's not love. That's self-abandonment dressed up as loyalty. Let me say it straight. Effort does not equal worth. Your worth was never meant to be negotiated through someone else's attention. You don't have to beg, chase, or shrink yourself to be loved. The right person doesn't need to be convinced. You are not hard to love. You're just loving people who don't know what love looks like. And I know what you're thinking. But I've invested so much time. I can't just walk away. Yes, you can. Because what you're calling investment might actually be avoidance. Avoiding being alone. Avoiding starting over. Avoiding facing that deep fear that maybe, just maybe, you're not enough. But you are. You've always been. You just forgot because you've been too busy proving it to people who never deserved front row seats in your life. Let's get real. You don't chase love, you attract it. You attract it by being grounded in your value, by standing tall even when someone tries to make you feel small. You attract it by refusing to participate in relationships that drain your peace. The woman who knows her worth doesn't need to scream it. She walks in it. She doesn't demand respect. She commands it by how she moves, how she speaks, how she refuses to argue over her value ever again. The next time you catch yourself trying too hard, pause. Ask yourself, am I trying to connect or am I trying to convince? Because connection flows naturally. It feels safe, easy, mutual. Convincing feels heavy. It feels like walking uphill with a backpack full of unmet needs. You can't build a solid relationship on one person's constant effort and the other's convenience. Here's a hard truth. Love that constantly hurts, confuses, or depletes you is not love. It's survival mode disguised as passion. You deserve consistency, not chaos. You deserve someone who doesn't need to lose you to value you. And you can only attract that kind of love when you stop overcompensating for someone else's emotional immaturity. When you stop explaining why you deserve basic respect. When you stop treating temporary people like permanent ones. Effort has its place, but it should never come at the cost of your dignity. You're not supposed to prove your worth through pain. The right relationship won't make you question if you're enough. It'll remind you that you already are. So stop apologizing for wanting more. Stop shrinking to fit someone's comfort zone. You're not asking for too much. You're just finally realizing your worth. Now let's talk about something even deeper. Healing before you love again. Because let's face it, so many of us rush into the next relationship, hoping that new love will heal the wounds left by the last one. But healing doesn't happen in the arms of someone new. It happens in the quiet moments when you finally stop running from yourself. Healing is brutal sometimes. It's crying on your bathroom floor, wondering how you ended up here again. It's realizing that the relationship you lost wasn't the only thing that broke. You did too. And before you can love again, you have to meet the version of yourself that you abandoned while trying to love someone else. You have to forgive yourself for not walking away sooner, for believing empty promises, for mistaking potential for partnership. That forgiveness, that's the beginning of healing. We live in a world that glorifies moving on. But moving on and healing are not the same thing. Moving on is distraction. Healing is transformation. Moving on says, I'm fine. Healing says, I'm honest. Healing asks hard questions. Why do I keep attracting emotionally unavailable people? Why do I tolerate less than I deserve? Why do I keep betraying myself in the name of love? Those answers are uncomfortable, but they set you free. And here's what most people don't tell you. Healing is lonely. It's quiet. It's unglamorous. It doesn't come with applause or validation. It's just you, choosing to face the mirror instead of running back to what broke you. It's learning to sit with your pain long enough to understand it, not numb it. It's building emotional muscles strong enough to hold the weight of your own love. When you heal, you stop mistaking attention for affection. You stop confusing control for care. You stop seeking closure from people who were never capable of giving it. Healing isn't about pretending you're over it. It's about no longer needing that person to make sense of your story. You start seeing them clearly, not as the one that got away, but as the one who taught you what you'll never settle for again. And I know that sounds empowering, but it's not always pretty. Healing will test you. You'll crave the familiar even when it hurts. You'll second-guess your growth because growth feels foreign. You'll have moments where you miss them, even when you know they were wrong for you. But that's part of the process. Healing doesn't erase your past. It rewires your future. So take the time. Sit with yourself. Rebuild your self-trust. Because when you do, love stops being a desperate search for validation. It becomes an extension of your wholeness. You stop settling for breadcrumbs because you've finally tasted peace. And that peace, that grounded, unshakable peace, becomes your new standard. You can't pour from a wounded heart and expect love to feel full. You can't build something real while bleeding from something broken. Healing is how you rise, not just for someone new, but for yourself. Because once you heal, you'll never again confuse chaos for chemistry or pain for passion. You'll recognize peace when it shows up. You'll know it's real love when you can finally exhale and feel safe being yourself. You know what makes so many women lose themselves in relationships? The silence. That dreadful, anxious silence when the messages slow down, when the calls stop coming, when suddenly you're sitting there wondering, what did I do wrong? The panic starts creeping in. You replay every word, every text, every moment, trying to figure out if you pushed too hard, cared too much, or said something you shouldn't have. You start overanalyzing the quiet like it's a test you failed. But here's the truth. Silence isn't a punishment. It's information. It tells you everything you need to know about how someone feels, about where their priorities are, about the emotional energy they're willing to give. If a man values you, he doesn't leave you in confusion. Period. Silence from someone who claims to care about you is clarity you didn't want but needed. And yet, instead of taking it as truth, we chase explanations. We fill the silence with excuses. He's probably busy. He's just overwhelmed. He said he's bad at texting. But deep down, you know when someone's energy changes. You can feel when you've shifted from priority to option. And the longer you ignore that intuition, the more you start disconnecting from yourself. Here's something powerful. You have to learn to be okay with silence. You have to stop letting the absence of communication send you into emotional chaos. The right person won't make you question your place in their life. When they care, you'll feel safe. You'll feel chosen, not tolerated. But when someone's silence speaks louder than their words, believe it. Don't chase clarity from someone who thrives on keeping you confused. That's not love. That's control. Let's be real. Your reaction to silence reveals your relationship with yourself. If silence terrifies you, it's because your worth has been tied to external validation for too long. You've been conditioned to believe that your value depends on whether someone else chooses you, responds to you, wants you. But what if you started using silence differently? What if, instead of spiraling, you used it to reconnect with yourself, to breathe, to center, to reflect? You don't need to fill every quiet moment with noise or people. Sometimes silence is where you finally hear your own voice again. When he goes quiet, don't chase. Match the energy. Protect your peace. Pull back your power. Let the silence do its job. It reveals everything. The moment you stop fighting for someone's attention, you create space for someone who actually wants to give it. Stop begging people to show up. Let them show you who they are and then make your choice. You are not here to audition for love. You are the main event. And if someone can't handle your worth, let them exit quietly. And now, let's talk about raising your standards. because that's where everything shifts. Somewhere along the way, women were told to be grateful for crumbs. That being understanding means tolerating inconsistency. That loving someone means sticking it out, even when it hurts. But love isn't supposed to feel like constant anxiety. It's not supposed to be guessing games, emotional whiplash, or waiting around for someone to decide if you're worth choosing. That's not love. That's self-betrayal. You've got to raise your standards, not lower your expectations. There's a huge difference. Expectations are about outcomes, things you can't control. Standards are about how you allow yourself to be treated, things you absolutely can control. Your standards are the boundaries that protect your peace, your dignity, your heart. When you have high standards, you're not being difficult. You're being discerning. You're saying, I've outgrown the version of me that accepted bare minimum love. You know what happens when you raise your standards? You stop chasing. You stop begging. You stop explaining why you deserve the basics. You start attracting different energy, because people can feel when you've made peace with your worth. They can sense that you're no longer available for half-effort love. And suddenly the dynamic changes. The wrong ones fade away because they can't meet you there. And the right ones step forward because they respect what you represent. Let me tell you something from experience. When you start saying no to almost love, you make room for real love. When you stop trying to prove your value, you finally start living it. Raising your standards doesn't mean demanding perfection. It means choosing alignment. It means saying, if it costs me my peace, it's too expensive. It means understanding that loneliness is better than emotional chaos, because peace, my friend, is not a luxury. It's a requirement. And yes, you'll lose people when you raise your standards. You'll outgrow relationships that once felt like home. You'll miss people who can't meet you anymore. But that's not loss, that's growth. You're not losing love, you're losing dysfunction disguised as love. You're not being rejected, you're being redirected towards something real. People will call you cold. They'll say you've changed, and you have. You've finally stopped mistaking inconsistency for intensity. You've learned that love isn't supposed to drain you, it's supposed to ground you. And when that realization hits, you'll never again chase someone who's running, or shrink for someone who's unsure. You'll stop romanticizing potential and start respecting proof. A high-value mindset is not arrogance, it's clarity. It's the quiet knowing that you deserve to be chosen, not tolerated, that you're not here to fix broken men or make excuses for emotional immaturity. You're here to love and be loved, equally, honestly, deeply. The moment you raise your standards, the universe starts matching your energy. It stops sending lessons and starts sending blessings. So, stop settling for crumbs when you deserve the whole table. Stop rationalizing red flags because you're afraid of being alone. You are not asking for too much. You're just asking the wrong person. The right one won't see your standards as a challenge. They'll see them as an invitation to rise. Because when you hold your worth high, you don't scare off the right people. You inspire them to meet you there. There's a reason so many women feel like they're doing everything right in relationships and still end up feeling unseen, unloved, or exhausted. It's because we've been taught to overfunction, to take charge, to fix things, to hold it all together. Somewhere along the line, we confused control with strength. We stepped so far into our masculine energy, planning, managing, leading, giving endlessly, that we left no space to simply be. And then we wonder why the relationship feels unbalanced, why he doesn't step up, why we feel unseen. But here's the truth. Love doesn't thrive in imbalance. It thrives in polarity, when both energies, masculine and feminine, dance together. Now, don't get this twisted. This isn't about playing small or pretending to be something you're not. This is about balance, not submission. Masculine energy is action, focus, and direction. Feminine energy is flow, intuition, and receptivity. Both exist in you. But when you stay stuck in overdrive, constantly giving, fixing, initiating, and holding the emotional weight of the relationship, you block the space for love to flow naturally. You exhaust yourself trying to make something work that was never meant to be forced. You've been told that being soft makes you weak, that letting someone else take the lead means you're giving up control. But it's the opposite. Softness is strength. Vulnerability is power. Because when you're rooted in your feminine energy, you're not chasing, you're attracting. You're not demanding, you're receiving. The feminine energy doesn't compete with the masculine. It complements it. It doesn't push, it invites. And here's what's so powerful about that shift. When you allow yourself to be in your feminine, you create space for a man to rise into his masculine. You stop mothering him, managing him, or teaching him how to love you. You simply allow him to show you through his actions whether he can meet you where you are. If he can't, you don't neg, you walk. Because a high-value woman knows that her softness is not for the unready. The truth is, so many women are exhausted because we've been living. Like love is something we have to earn through effort. We take on every emotional burden in the relationship, believing that if we can just be enough, calm enough, understanding enough, patient enough, he'll finally show up. But real connection doesn't happen through over-effort. It happens through emotional safety, through space, through flow. Start noticing where you're overgiving. Notice when you're the one always texting first, always fixing the conflict, always explaining your worth. Stop doing that. Let him come to you. Let him lead sometimes. It doesn't mean you lose power. It means you're confident enough to let things unfold without trying to control them. Because that's what true confidence looks like. Trusting that what's meant for you doesn't need to be chased, forced, or micromanaged. When you learn to soften, not to be passive, but to be peaceful, you become magnetic. You stop attracting men who need saving and start attracting men who are grounded enough to meet your energy. You stop tolerating inconsistency because it doesn't align with your calm. You stop begging for reciprocity because you're too busy resting in your worth. And that balance, that beautiful harmony between strength and softness, is where real love grows. But here's the mistake so many women make right after this realization. They confuse potential with partnership. They meet someone who could be great if only he changed, if only he healed, if only he grew up. And so they pour their energy into the if-onlys. They see flashes of who he could be, and they hang on to that image like it's a promise. But here's the harsh truth. Potential is not the same as reality. Falling in love with someone's potential is like falling in love with a fantasy version of them. It feels inspiring at first, but it always ends in disappointment. You have to stop falling for the almost version of love. Stop saying, he's not there yet, but I know he'll get there someday. Because maybe he won't. Maybe he doesn't want to. And while you're waiting for him to become the man you deserve, you're wasting precious time and emotional energy that could be spent building a life that actually fulfills you. We do this because we see the good in people. We're nurturers by nature. We want to believe in their growth, in their potential. But there's a line between hope and self-delusion. Hope keeps you open. Delusion keeps you stuck. And too many women confuse loyalty with self-sacrifice. Loving someone doesn't mean you have to lose yourself in their process. You can care deeply for someone and still choose yourself. You can love them and still leave. The reality is, you can't build a solid relationship on potential. You can only build on what's real. If someone's words and actions don't align, believe the actions. If someone says they'll change but never follows through, stop listening and start watching. Consistency is the loudest form of love. You shouldn't have to beg someone to grow, to show up, or to care. You shouldn't have to water someone who refuses to plant their own roots. And here's something I've learned. When you stop chasing potential, you start seeing reality with crystal clarity. You stop projecting your love onto people who aren't capable of receiving it. You stop making excuses for behavior that hurts you. You start choosing peace over potential, alignment over effort, and truth over fantasy. That's when you finally experience love that doesn't drain you. It nourishes you. You deserve someone who meets you where you are, not someone who promises to someday catch up. You deserve someone whose presence feels safe, not whose absence feels like withdrawal. You deserve to be with someone who's ready now, not maybe, not eventually, not someday. The kind of love that lasts doesn't need you to wait for it to mature. It shows up ready, grounded, and real. So stop trying to mold, fix, or teach someone how to love. That's not your job. Your only job is to stay aligned with your worth, to live in your truth, and to protect your peace fiercely. Because when you let go of potential, you make space for reality. And that reality, that's where love finally feels like home. Protect your peace like it's sacred, because it is. You've spent too many years mistaking chaos for chemistry, thinking that if your heart was racing, if the relationship felt unpredictable, it meant it was passionate. But that constant anxiety, that second guessing, that emotional exhaustion, it's not passion, it's pain. Somewhere along the way, we were conditioned to associate peace with boredom. to believe that stability meant no spark. But that couldn't be further from the truth. Peace is not dull. Peace is powerful. Peace is what allows love to grow. When you are finally free from the emotional roller coaster, you can actually see the relationship for what it is, not through the lens of adrenaline, but through clarity. Peace is not something you find in another person. It's something you protect within yourself. And once you understand that, you'll stop tolerating anything that threatens it. You'll stop letting people drag you into endless cycles of confusion. You'll stop responding to every text that disrupts your energy, because your peace is not up for negotiation. Protect it like your life depends on it, because in many ways, it does. The moment you compromise your peace, you compromise your self-trust. You start doubting your intuition, your boundaries, your sense of self. And here's the truth. Protecting your peace will cost you people. The moment you stop playing the emotional savior, some people will call you cold. The moment you stop explaining your boundaries, some will call you distant. The moment you start choosing silence over drama, they'll say you've changed. Good. You have. You've outgrown chaos disguised as connection. You've stopped feeding relationships that starve your spirit. Protecting your peace doesn't mean shutting people out. It means filtering who gets access. Not everyone deserves a front row seat in your life. Not everyone deserves to know your heart, your plans, or your energy. You don't have to explain why you need space, why you didn't respond, or why you walked away. Peace doesn't need justification. It's self-preservation. And let's be honest, sometimes protecting your peace means walking away from what you thought you wanted most. It means saying, I love you, but I love me more. It means letting go of the fantasy you built in your head about how things could be. Because peace and pain can't coexist. You can't be at peace while constantly trying to fix, prove, or earn love. The relationship that keeps you anxious, overthinking, or crying more than you smile, it's not love, it's dependency. You don't need to fight to keep what's meant for you. Real love will never cost you your peace of mind. So, make peace your standard. Choose the calm over the chaos. Choose quiet over confusion. Choose yourself over someone who keeps you guessing. When you do, you'll notice your entire world shifts. Your energy lightens. Your mind clears. And that's when love starts to feel safe again. Because it's built on peace, not pain. Now, let's talk about the deepest truth of all. Becoming the love you're looking for. Because if you're constantly searching for love outside of yourself, you'll always end up feeling empty. You can't attract what you don't embody. You can't expect someone to love you fully if you haven't learned how to love yourself first. And no, I don't mean the cliché self-love that gets thrown around like a quote on Instagram. I mean real, radical self-love. The kind that's quiet, grounded, consistent. The kind that makes you stop begging people to choose you because you've already chosen yourself. Becoming the love you're looking for means you stop operating from lack. You stop saying, I'll be happy when I find the right person. No, you become happy now. You fill your life with things that make you feel alive. Your hobbies, your passions, your purpose. You start building a life so fulfilling that love becomes a beautiful addition, not a desperate need. You stop waiting for someone to make you feel seen because you've learned to see yourself. When you become the love you're looking for, your standards naturally rise. You won't be drawn to inconsistency because it won't feel exciting anymore. It'll feel exhausting. You won't chase emotional highs because your self-worth will be steady. You'll start recognizing love not by how much it thrills you, but by how safe it feels. You'll stop asking, how do I make him love me? And start asking, does this connection honor the woman I've become? That's when everything changes. You attract what you are, not what you want. If you carry desperation, you'll attract avoidance. If you carry peace, you'll attract calm. If you carry self-respect, you'll attract someone who values it. The world mirrors back the energy you hold within. So stop waiting for someone to love you the way you deserve. Show yourself what that love feels like. Speak to yourself kindly. Celebrate your progress. Forgive your past. Love yourself enough to not settle for confusion ever again. Becoming the love you're looking for also means embracing the parts of you you've been taught to hide. The insecurities, the scars, the fears. You don't have to be perfectly healed to be worthy of love. You just have to be aware. You just have to be willing to grow. Self-love doesn't mean you never feel lonely. It means you don't let loneliness make your decisions anymore. You stop answering texts from the past just because you're bored. You stop settling for attention when what you really want is connection. You stop chasing people who drain you because you'd rather be alone than unappreciated. And the most beautiful thing, when you love yourself deeply, you become magnetic. People feel it. You move differently. You speak differently. You walk into a room with quiet confidence because you no longer need validation to feel valuable. You stop chasing love because you've already found it within yourself. And that's the kind of energy that draws the right people toward you effortlessly. So become the love. Be the warmth, the kindness, the compassion you've always craved. Be the peace you wish someone would bring you. When you love yourself that way, you set the tone for how others love you. You'll never again beg for the bare minimum because you've become the embodiment of abundance. Love stops being something you seek. It becomes something you radiate. And that, right there, is when real love finally finds you. You are not too old, too broken, or too late for love. Real love doesn't have an expiration date. It has a readiness date. And maybe that time is now. So tell me in the comments, which truth hit you the hardest today? What part of this message do you need to start living right now? If this spoke to your heart, hit like, share this video with a woman who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more raw, empowering conversations about love, self-worth, and growth. And before you go, drop your ideas for future topics. What do you want us to talk about next? This space isn't just a channel, it's a community. Let's grow, heal, and rise together, one powerful truth at a time.